Okay, so let's talk about Job, session 1. I stole some stuff from John MacArthur for you guys, and I'm hoping that the way that I'm doing the slides now, it's much more vibrant in color. So, and this particular item is, at the bottom, it is from John MacArthur. There's a lot of people that say that Job is the oldest book in the Bible, and there's some questioning about whether or not who wrote it. Is it Moses? Is it Solomon? Is it others? I am just going to read to you what the research that John MacArthur has done. I don't particularly think that it matters, but we'll share it. So, because that way we say we've looked at it. As with other books of the Bible, Job bears the name of the narrative's primary character. His name might have been derived from the Hebrew word for persecution, thus meaning persecuted one, or from an Arabic word meaning repent, thus bearing the name repentant one. The author recounts an era in the life of Job in which he was tested and the character of God was revealed. New Testament writers directly quote Job 2 times in Romans and 1 Corinthians, plus Ezekiel and James show Job was a real person. It wasn't just a hypothetical. This is what we know about the author, hypothetically, right? So the book doesn't name its author. Job is an unlikely candidate because the book's message rests on Job's ignorance of the events that occurred. And I'm not going to read into that because I want you guys we'll read it together. If we go down further, it says one Talmudic tradition suggests Moses is the author since the land of Uz was adjacent to Midian where Moses lived for 40 years. And he could have obtained a record of the story there. Solomon is also a good possibility due to the similarity of content with parts of the book of Ecclesiastes. The date of the book's writing may be much later than the events recorded therein. This conclusion is based upon, number one, Job's age, his lifespan of nearly 200 years, which fits the patriarchal period. 3, the social unit being the patriarchal family. 4, the Chaldeans who murdered Job's servants were nomads and had not yet become city dwellers. And then Job's wealth being measured in livestock rather than gold and silver. Job's priestly functions, please stop. Job's priestly functions within his family. And 7, a basic silence on matters such as the covenant of Abraham, Israel, the Exodus, and the law of Moses. These events of Job's Odyssey appear to be patriarchal. Job, on the other hand, seemed to know about Adam and Noah's flood. The cultural historical features found in the book appear to place the events chronologically at a time probably after Babel, but before contemporaneous with Abraham. These are those items that were pertaining towards the age. I really would rather do this part of the review after we've started reading. So let's do this. Next week, we'll start off with these reviews, just because they will have some meaning once we get through the first couple chapters, and it'll be pretty deep theological questions that come out of this. So, Job chapter 1, Mr. Levi, take it away.
There was a man in the land of Uz whose name was Job, and that man was
blameless,
and upright, and one who feared God and
shunned
evil, and
7 sons
and 3 daughters were born to him. Also, his
possessions
were 7,000 sheep, 3,000 camels, 500
yoke of oxen,
500
female donkeys,
and very large household, so that this man was the greatest of all the people of the east.
Stop. How many kids did Job have?
7 plus 3 equals 10.
Very good. So Job has 10 kids and he's got a ton of possessions, right? 7,000 sheep, 3,000 camels, 500 yoke of oxen, 500 female donkeys, and a very large household, right?
Yep.
And we see here that he is the greatest of the men of the East, people of the East, right? So go ahead and take us away where it says, and his sons.
And his sons would go and feast in their houses, each on his appointed day, and would send and invite their 3 days sisters, their 3 sisters, to eat and drink with them. So it was when the days of feasting had run their course that Job would send
And sanctify them.
and sanctify them, and he would rise early in the morning and offer a burnt offering according to the number of them all. For Job said, it may be that my sons have sinned and cursed God in their hearts. Thus Job did regularly.
Very good. So we get an idea that Job's pretty much awesome, right?
Mhm.
He's got a bunch of kids. He's got 10. And I was listening to one of the commentaries on this, and they said that the particular item where it says, and the sons would go and feast in their houses, each on his appointed day. And we could look into that in a different ways. One pastor that I heard talk about this says that it was like it was their birthday. So I mean, there's 10 kids, and they would have a big party, essentially, if they were as one a month, so to speak, for 10 months out of the year. And for Job, he was concerned that they may have sinned in their hearts. And so he would regularly do sacrifices even for them. Okay? We're not going to do that. In the middle of stuff. Ready? So, Job's got 10 kids, tons of animals, richest man in the East, and he's got a heart for God. Levi, I will let you read the next 6 verses as well. Yeah, nice and loud.
Now there was a day when the sons of God came to
present themselves
before the Lord, and Satan also came among them. And the Lord said to Satan, from where do you come? So Satan answered the Lord and said, from going to and fro
on the earth, so back and forth, all over the place,
and from walking back and forth on it. Then the Lord said to Satan, have you considered my servant Job, that there is no one like him on the earth, a blameless man
and upright man,
one who fears God and shuns evil. To Satan answered the Lord and said, does Job fear God? For nothing have you not made a
hedge around him,
around his household, and around all that he has on every side. You have blessed the work of his hands, and his possessions have increased in the land. But now stretch out your hand and touch all that he has, and he will surely curse you to your face, And the Lord said to Satan, behold, all that he has is in your power. Only do not lay a hand on his person. So Satan went out from the presence of the Lord.
Okay, let's stop there. So this particular section seems to bring up a lot of confusion with individuals, and it's a bit of a tough pill to swallow here. So when we see the word Satan, and this is interesting, but it's Satan, and it means the accuser, like you would have in the court of law. Okay, so we see that it's almost a court-like setting that's happening in heaven. We see that Satan has been going all over in the earth, walking to and fro, and he's just observing. God tells Satan, the accuser, have you considered my servant Job? I mean, that's number one. That's pretty cool for God to be singling you out as something special, right? And then God saying that there's no one else like him, that he's blameless and upright. So God is validating that he's done absolutely nothing wrong. And what Satan says is that you have created a special hedge around him. And the only reason that he loves you is because you have made him prosper and you haven't let anything bad happen to him. That's the only reason that he serves you.
There's also a pretty tricky question in that story. Is why God's letting him have the power.
That's right. So we're gonna
to be test on him.
Right.
To see if he really loves God.
That's right. Okay. So we see that God allows Satan to afflict Job in such a way that his body is preserved. There's nothing wrong with him physically. And so we're going to see what happens here. And I'm going to read this, Levi. Now there was a day when his sons and daughters were eating and drinking wine in their oldest brother's house. And a messenger came to Job and said, the oxen were plowing and the donkeys feeding beside them, when the Sabeans raided them and took them away. Indeed, they have killed the servants with the edge of the sword, and I alone have escaped to tell you. While he was yet still speaking, another also came and said, the fire of God fell from heaven and burned up the sheep and the servants and consumed them. And I alone have escaped to tell you. While he was still speaking, another also came and said, the Chaldeans formed 3 bands, raided the camels and took them away, yes, and killed the servants with the edge of the sword. And I alone have escaped to tell you. And while he was still speaking, another also came and said, your sons and daughters were eating and drinking wine in their oldest brother's house. And suddenly a great wind came from across the wilderness and struck the 4 corners of the house. And it fell on the young people, and they are dead. And I alone have escaped to tell you. Then Job arose, he tore his robe and shaved his head, and he fell to the ground and worshipped. And he said, naked I came from my mother's womb, and naked shall I return there. The Lord gave, and the Lord has taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. In all this, Job did not sin, nor charge God with wrong. So, Job's pretty awesome, right? Let's get into chapter 2.
That's Job.
That's just a picture of him. We have no idea what he looks like.
I was gonna say this doesn't look what he looks like, because you said he was bald.
Yeah, he shaved his head. Okay.
But it does look like he ripped his shirt open.
Yep. And there was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord. And Satan came also among them to present himself before the Lord. And the Lord said unto Satan, from whence comest thou? And Satan answered the Lord and said, from going to and fro in the earth, and from walking up and down in it. And the Lord said unto Satan, hast you considered my servant Job, that there is none like him in the earth, a perfect and upright man, one that fears God and eschews evil? And still he holds fast his integrity, although thou movest me against him to destroy him without a cause. And Satan answered the Lord and said, skin for skin, yea, all that a man has, he will give for his life. But put forth thine hand now and touch his bone and his flesh, and he will curse you to your face. And the Lord said unto Satan, behold, he is in thine hand, but save his life. So when Satan went forth from the presence of the Lord and smote Job with sore boils from the sole of his foot until his crown, talking about the top of his head there.
Yep.
And he took him a potsherd to scrape himself withal. And he sat down among the ashes. Then his wife said to him, do you still retain your integrity? Curse God and die. But he said unto her, you speak as one of the foolish women speaks. What? Shall we receive good at the hand of God? And shall we not receive evil? In all this, did not Job sin with his lips?
And Job?
It's just a picture, bud. It's there to try and give you an image in your head. Imagery, right? Now, when Job's 3 friends heard of all the evil that was come upon him, they came everyone from his own place. Eliphaz the Temanite, and then this is the shortest guy in the Bible. I don't know if you guys have ever heard this. And Bildad the Shuhite. I don't know if you guys know that joke. There's a guy that does a joke about that where it shows a man standing next to a shoe and he's only as tall as a shoe. So he's Bildad, he's the Shuhite. Never mind. And Zophar the Naamathite. For they had made an appointment together to come to mourn with him and to comfort him. And when they lifted their eyes up from afar off and knew him not, they lifted up their voice and wept. And they rent everyone his mantle and sprinkled dust upon their heads toward heaven. So they sat down with him upon the ground 7 days and 7 nights, and no one spake a word unto him, for they saw that his grief was very great. So, if you're curious about how bad Satan afflicted Job, it was to the point where his 3 good friends couldn't even recognize him. And when they did, and they saw how much pain and suffering he was in, they tore their clothes and basically went into mourning by anointing themselves with ashes, and then didn't say a word. 7 days they sat there with him, for a week, and they didn't say a word. After this, Job's been there. He's been seeing there. We perceive that it's been 7 days. Job's going to open his mouth. He's going to speak. After this, Job opened his mouth and cursed his day. And Job spake and said, let the day perish wherein I was born, and let the night in which it was said, there was a man-child conceived. Let that day be darkness. Let not God regard it from above, neither let the light shine upon it. Let darkness and the shadow of death stain it. Let a cloud dwell upon it. Let the blackness of the day terrify it. As for that night, let darkness seize upon it. Let it not be joined unto the days of the year. Let it not come into the number of the months. Lo, let that night be solitary. Let no joyful voice come therein. Let them curse it, that curse the day, who are ready to raise up their mourning. Let the stars of the twilight thereof be dark. Let it look for light, but have none. Neither let it see the dawning of the day, because it shut not up the doors of my mother's womb, nor hid sorrow from mine eyes. Why died I not in the womb? Why did I not give up the ghost when I came out of the belly? Why did the knees prevent me? Or why the breasts that I should suck? For now should I have lain still and been quiet. I should have slept. Then had I been at rest with kings and counselors of the earth, which built desolate places for themselves, or with the princes that had gold, who filled their house with silver, or as the hidden untimely birth I had not been, as infants which never saw light. There the wicked cease from troubling, and there the weary be at rest. So, Job is not cursing God here.
He's cursing Satan.
He's not cursing Satan. Job is suffering. And after a week of suffering in front of his friends, he basically yells out a cry. And I could see him crying. I could see a man crying saying this, especially someone who's lost everything, his kids, and he's suffering with his skin and the disease that he's been given, is that he wishes he was dead.
To see his kids.
No, he just wishes he was dead. He wishes he was no longer suffering that where he was at right now. But what I think is extremely interesting to note here is there's a contrast. And we've talked about this before, and this is the particular verse where this comes up, is what happens when a baby dies? You know, what happens when that whole level of accountability kicks in? We talked about this with David when David's son with Bathsheba dies. And where does the baby go? And remember, David was mourning, and then all of a sudden he wasn't mourning when he heard that the baby died, because he knew that the baby was going to go, he was going to go to a place where the baby was. We can see here, Job is perceiving that if he would have been a stillborn, right? Or as an hidden untimely birth, I had not been, which is this, what's that?
Wait, like Pharaoh when his son died?
No, not even. I'll explain it to you later, but it's sad, but it's a fact of life and something we'll talk about. So what he's basically saying though, is that he wished he would have been one of those, because if he was one of those, at least he would be at rest and he would be in a place of something that's good, right? And we can see that by the way he's comparing and contrasting the life that he's going through and the death that he's in. And he's going to keep expanding upon this. And I think it's chapter 4 is when we start to see responses. So this is continuing the last part of chapter 3. This is Job again. There, the prisoners rest together. They hear not the voice of the oppressor. The small and great are there, and the servant is free from his master. Wherefore is light given to him that is in misery, and life unto the bitter in soul, which long for death, but it comes not, and dig for it more than for hid treasures, which rejoice exceedingly, and are glad when they can find the graves. Why is light given to a man whose way is hid, and whom God has hedged in? For my sighing cometh before I eat, and my roarings are poured out like the waters. For the things which I greatly feared is come upon me, and that which I was afraid of is come unto me. I was not in safety, neither had I rest, neither was I quiet, yet trouble came. He is in agonizing pain, guys. I remember having a conversation with one of my uncles that was just in agonizing pain because of a problem with his back. And I remember him saying that he wishes he was dead, because from the moment he woke up to the moment that he went to bed, it was like drill bits in his spine, trying to move, couldn't get comfortable. And after several days and days and days of it, he just wished for death. And that is in such a small comparison, though it sucked. I'm not saying it didn't suck, but to consider what Job is going through. So he's really feeling it.
He said he wanted to die because he didn't want to feel it.
Yeah, he's in pain. So this is his buddy, or so we're told. This is his friend. Then Eliphaz, the Temanite, answered and said, if we essay to commune with thee, wilt thou be grieved? But who can withhold himself from speaking? Behold, thou hast instructed many, and thou hast strengthened the weak hands. Thy words have upholden him who that was falling, that thou hast strengthened the feeble knees. But now it has come upon thee, and thou faintest? It toucheth thee, and thou art troubled? Is not this thy fear, and thy confidence, thy hope, and thy uprightness of thy ways? Remember, I pray thee, whoever perished being innocent, or where were the righteous? Oh, sorry guys, I'm having, my brain was twisted up right there. Or where were the righteous cut off? Even as I have seen, they that plow iniquity and sow wickedness reap the same. By the blast of God they perish, and by the breath of his nostrils are they consumed. The roaring of the lion and the voice of the fierce lion and the teeth of the young lions are broken. The old lion perish for lack of prey, and the stout lion's whelps are scattered abroad. Now a thing was secretly brought to me, and mine ear received a little thereof. In thoughts from my visions of the night, when deep sleep falleth on men, fear came upon me and trembling, which made all my bones to shake. Then a spirit passed before my face, and the hair of my flesh stood up. It stood still, but I could not discern the form thereof. An image was before mine eyes, there was silence, and I heard a voice saying, shall mortal man be more than just, or shall be more just than God? Shall a man be more pure than his maker? Behold, he put no trust in his servants, and his angels he charged with folly. How much less is in them that dwell in houses of clay, whose foundation is in the dust, which are crushed before the moth. They are destroyed from morning to evening. They perish forever without any regarding it. Do not their excellency which is in them go away? They die even without wisdom. So, what do you guys think that their buddy Eliphaz, or Job's buddy Eliphaz, is trying to say to Job?
Or you can be trying to give in to what the devil wants or something like that, huh?
That he did something wrong and that's why he is the way he is.
This is so crazy to me. Miguel is spot on. Eliphaz the Temanite is saying that the reason why Job is going through what he's going through is he's guilty of something. He is suffering because he is a sinner, and whatever sin he has is a secret sin. And it's been revealed to him through a dream. Oh, I had this amazing dream, and I know that this is what happened, and I have this feeling, and the reason why you're suffering is because you've done evil things. Because if you do good, you will be rewarded with good. Right? That's what he's saying. And if we look back to the conversation between God and Satan, we can actually see what God said of Satan. And that was, have you considered my servant Job, that there is none like him on the earth, and blameless and upright man who fears God and shuns evil? Okay. And we see a second time after this thing when it says, and Satan answered and said, skin for skin, yea, all that a man hath will he give his life. The thing that I noticed the most, that stuck out the most to me, is when God said, and still he holds fast his integrity, although thou moved me against him to destroy him without cause. So we're instructed right in the beginning that Job didn't do anything wrong. He was upright, and God was boasting about his love. But the accuser, mind you, this is the same accuser who stands before God and says all of the things that we do wrong. He's our accuser as well. And that's something we learned in the New Testament, guys, is everything you've ever done wrong, he's putting us on blast. But we have one who stands up for us. And who is that, Levi? That's right. That's right. So his buddy Eliphaz basically says, you know, dude, you're going through this because you did this to yourself. You have some internal sin or internal deed that you've done that is deserving of this punishment that you've received. Right? And so let's see what Job responds with. Is this chapter 5? We're in chapter 5, right? That's where we ended? No, we finished this already. We finished this. They die even without wisdom. So let's get into 5. There's still some more here.
Can I read it?
No. Call now. If there be any that will answer thee, and to which of the saints wilt thou turn? For wrath killeth the foolish man, and envy slayeth the silly one. I have seen the foolish taking root, but suddenly I cursed his habitation. His children are far from safety, and they are crushed in the gate. Neither is there any to deliver them, whose harvest the hungry eateth up, and taketh it even out of the thorns. And the robber swalloweth up their substance. Although affliction cometh not forth of the dust, neither do the troubles spring out of the ground, yet man is born unto trouble. As the sparks fly upward, I would seek unto God, and unto God would I commit my cause, which does great things and unsearchable, marvelous things without number, who gives rain upon the earth and sends waters upon the fields, to set up on high those that be low, that those which mourn may be exalted to safety. He disappointeth the devices of the crafty, so that their hands cannot perform their enterprise. He taketh the wise in their own craftiness, and the counsel of the froward is carried headlong. They meet with darkness in the daytime, and the group in the noonday as in the night. But he saves the poor from the sword, from their mouth, and from the hand of the mighty. So the poor hath hope, and iniquity stops her mouth. Behold, happy is the man whom God correcteth. Therefore despise not thou the chastening of the Almighty, for he maketh sore and bindeth up. He wounds, and his hands make whole. He shall deliver thee in 6 troubles, yea, in 7. There shall no evil touch thee. In famine he shall redeem thee from death, and in war from the power of the sword. Thou shalt be hid from the scourge of the tongue. Neither shalt thou be afraid of destruction when it comes. At destruction and famine thou shalt laugh. Neither shalt thou be afraid of the beasts of the earth, for thou shalt be in league with the stones of the field, and the beasts of the field shall be at peace with thee. And thou shalt know that thy tabernacle shall be in peace, and thou shalt visit thy habitation, and shalt not sin. Thou shalt know also that thy seed shall be great, and thine offspring as the grass of the earth. Thou shalt come to thy grave in a full age, like as a shock of corn cometh in the season. Lo, this, we have searched it, so it is, hear it, and now thou it for thy good. Job's going to respond to him. But Job answered and said, "Oh, that my grief were thoroughly weighed." Do you guys remember what tool they used to weigh things back in the day?
An egg?
No.
Balance.
Yes. They would put one item on one side of the balance and one item on the other side of the balance. If you were going to get an ounce of wheat, they would have something that was predetermined on what an ounce was, right?
It's like these 2 pots.
It's a balance, yeah. Weights and balances. We talked about it today in your program. So, oh, that my grief were thoroughly weighed, and my calamity laid in the balances together. For now it would be heavier than the sand of the sea. Therefore my words are swallowed up. You guys see what Job is saying? Is if the punishment that he's received was put in a level of balances to the sins that he's committed, that it would be as though the punishment that he's received is heavier than all the sand in the sea. I mean, it's a pretty big analogy, right? But that's how he feels. For the arrows of the Almighty are within me, the poison whereof drinketh up my spirit. The terrors of God do set themselves in array against me. Does the wild ass bray when he has grass, or the loweth the ox over his fodder? Can that which is unsavory be eaten without salt? Or is there any taste in the white of an egg? The things that my soul refused to touch are as my sorrowful meat. Oh, that I might have my request, and that God would grant me the thing that I long for, even that I would please, or even that it would please God to destroy me, that he would let loose his hand and cut me off. Then should I yet have comfort. Yea, I would harden myself in sorrow. Let him not spare. For I have not concealed the words of the Holy One. What is my strength that I should hope? And what is mine end that I should prolong my life? Is my strength the strength of stones? Or is my flesh of brass? Is not my help in me? And is wisdom driven quite from me? To him that is afflicted, pity should be shewed from his friend. But he forsaketh the fear of the Almighty. My brethren have dealt deceitfully as a brook, and as the stream of brooks they pass away, which are blackish by reason of the ice, and wherein the snow is hid. What time they wax warm, they vanish. When it is hot, they are consumed out of their place. The paths of their way are turned aside. They go to nothing and perish. The troops of Tema looked. The companies of Sheba waited for them. They were confounded because they had hoped. They came thither and they were ashamed. For now we are nothing. You see my casting down and are afraid. Did I say, bring unto me, or give me a reward, or give a reward for me for your substance, or deliver me from my enemy's hand, or redeem me from the hand of the mighty? Teach me, and I will hold my tongue, and cause me to understand wherein I have erred. How forcible are the right words! But what does your arguing reprove? Do you imagine to reprove words and the speeches of one that is desperate, which are as wind? Yea, you overwhelm the fatherless, and you dig a pit for your own friend. Now therefore be content. Look upon me, for it is evident unto you if I lie. Return, I pray you, let it not be iniquity. Yeah, return again. My righteousness is in it. Is there iniquity in my tongue? Cannot my taste discern perverse things? And I stopped at chapter 6 because I thought we would go a little bit longer. So that's all I have for you guys for today. And it's early. It's only 7:40. So we can call it there, or if you want me to crack open the Bible, we can keep reading from the Bible. I'll leave it up to you guys. What would you like to do?
Whatever you want to do.
I'm seeing if this thing will open right now. I'd like to get into chapter 7. Let's do chapter 7. I should have spent some more time on this, honestly. Shame on me.
No, you're good. You're good.
They're there. They're all there. Let me minimize this. Okay. Trying to find out where my Bible is at. It says it's open. Oh, there it is. There it is.
Wait, but it's not on the big screen.
It will be. All right. Can you guys see my Bible on your screen or no?
Yes.
Let me see if I can see it. Okay.
Why is it so big?
So I can see it because I have it on just this page now. Chapter 7. Is there not now an appointed time for man upon the earth? You know what? Let's do. Is there not a time of hard service for man on earth? Are not his days also like the days of a hired man? Like a servant who earnestly desires the shade, and I just dropped something, sorry. And like a hired man who eagerly looks for his wages. So I have been allotted months of futility, and wearisome nights have been appointed for me. When I lie down, I say, when shall I arise, and the night be ended? For I have had my fill of tossing till dawn. My flesh is caked with worms and dust. My skin is cracked and breaks out afresh. My days are swifter than a weaver's shuttle, and are spent without hope. Oh, remember that my life is a breath. My eye will never again see good. The eye of him who sees me will see me no more. While your eyes are upon me, I shall no longer be. As the cloud disappears and vanishes away, so he who goes down to the grave does not come up. He shall never return to his house, nor shall his place know him any more. Therefore, I will not restrain my mouth. I will speak in the anguish of my spirit. I will complain in the bitterness of my soul. Am I a sea or a sea serpent that you set a guard over me? When I say my bed will comfort me, my couch will ease my complaint, then you scare me with dreams and terrify me with visions, so that my soul chooses strangling and death rather than my body? I loathe my life. I would not live forever. Let me alone, for my days are but a breath. What is man that you should exalt him, that you should set your heart on him, that you should visit him every morning and test him every moment? How long will you not look away from me and leave me alone till I swallow my saliva? Have I sinned? What have I done to you, O watcher of men? Why have you set me as your target, so that I am a burden to myself? Why then do you not pardon my transgression and take away my iniquity? For now I will lie down in the dust, and you will seek me diligently, but I will no longer be. Then Bildad, the Shuhite, answered and said, how long will you speak these things, and the words of your mouth be like a strong wind? Does God subvert judgment, or does the Almighty pervert justice? If your sons have sinned against him, he has cast them away for their transgression. If you would earnestly seek God and make your supplication to the Almighty, if you were pure and upright, surely now he would awake for you and prosper your rightful dwelling place. Though your beginning was small, yet your latter end would increase abundantly. So this guy, Bildad, is giving the name it and claim it prosperity gospel. I don't know if you guys have ever heard that terminology before. And you've heard it before, right, Uncle Charlie?
What's that?
There's pastors that have like this theology that, you can have an unlimited amount of stuff, and it's a reward of God as long as you have enough faith. You can not be sick anymore if all you need is just enough faith. So they put this real emphasis on this works-based system. You can do it. Name it and claim it. It's going to be mine. I'm going to be a millionaire. Just watch. I just have to have enough faith. I can beat this cancer. As long as I have enough faith, I can wake up and speak it gone. There is a movement of people that share this. And ironically, this is something that's talked about several thousand years ago. This guy Bildad, that's what he's saying. He says, if you would earnestly seek God and make your supplication to the Almighty, if you were pure and upright, Surely now he would awake for you and prosper your rightful dwelling place. Though your beginning was small, yet your latter would increase abundantly. For inquire, please, of the former age, and consider the things discovered by their fathers. For we were born yesterday and know nothing, because our days on earth are a shadow. Will they not teach you and tell you and utter words from their heart? Can the papyrus grow up without a marsh? Can the reeds flourish without water? While it is yet green and not cut down, it withers before any other plant. So are the paths of all who forget God, and the hope of the hypocrite shall perish. Whose confidence shall be cut off, and whose trust is a spider's web? He leans on his house, but it does not stand. He holds it fast, but it does not endure. He grows green in the sun, and his branches spread out in his garden. His roots wrap around the rock heap and look for a place in the stones. If he is destroyed from his place, then it will deny him, saying, I have not seen you. Behold, this is the joy of his way, and out of the earth others will grow. Behold, God will not cast away the blameless, nor will he uphold the evildoers. He will yet fill your mouth with laughing and your lips with rejoicing. Those who hate you will be clothed with shame, and the dwelling place of the wicked will come to nothing. So he's basically saying that he's an evildoer. Behold, God will not cast away the blameless, nor will he uphold the evildoers. So let's keep going. Whoops. And Job answered and said, truly, I know it is so. But how can a man be righteous before God? If one wished to contend with him, he could not answer him one time out of 1,000. God is wise in heart and mighty in strength. Who has hardened himself against him and prospered? He removes the mountains, and they do not know when he overturns them in his anger. He shakes them out of its place, and its pillars tremble. He commands the sun, and it does not rise. He seals off the stars. He alone spreads out the heavens and treads on the waves of the sea. He made the bear Orion and the Pleiades and the chambers of the south. He does great things past finding out, yes, wonders without number. If he goes by me, I do not see him. If he moves past, I do not perceive him. If he takes away, who can hinder him? And who can say, what are you doing? God will not withdraw his anger. The allies of the proud lie prostrate beneath him. How then can I answer him and choose my words to reason with him? Oops. For though I were righteous, I could not answer him. I would beg mercy of my judge. If I called and he answered me, I would not believe that he was listening to my voice. For he crushes me with a tempest and multiplies my wounds without cause. He will not allow me to catch my breath, but fills me with bitterness. If it is a matter of strength, indeed he is strong. And if of justice, who will appoint my day in court? Though I were righteous, my own mouth would condemn me. Though I were blameless, it would prove me perverse. I am blameless, yet I do not know myself. I despise my life. It is all one thing, therefore I say, he destroys the blameless and the wicked. If the scourge slays suddenly, he laughs at the plight of the innocent. The earth is given into the hand of the wicked. He covers the faces of its judges. If it is not he, who else could it be? Now my days are swifter than a runner. They flee away, they see no good. They pass by like swift ships, like an eagle swooping on its prey. If I say, I will forget my complaint, I will put off my sad face and wear a smile, I am afraid of all my sufferings. I know that you will not hold me innocent. If I am condemned, why then do I labor in vain? If I wash myself with snow water and cleanse my hands with soap, yet you will plunge me into the pit, and my own clothes will abhor me. For he is not a man as I am, that I may answer him, and that we should go to court together. Nor is there any mediator between us who may lay his hand on us both. Let him take his rod away from me, and do not let dread of him terrify me. Then I would speak and not fear him, but it is not so with me. And I'm just going to stop there. Well, let's do 10 through 20. Let's do 10 through 20 next week. Since they are really short chapters, I mean, a lot of them are, these shorter verses. And I think we'll get 10 chapters next week. We got 10 chapters this week, including an intro. And a lot of it's kind of just reading through like a shooting script about what's happening. If there's something that comes up that we want to talk about, we can. But I'm going to shut it down on that and just ask you guys, is there any questions that you have?
Nope.
No? Okay. I'm going to do